Okay guys, in order to get the most out of this lesson, you're going to need two things. Number one, you need to come up with the next move for the black pieces here. Take as long as you need, pause the video, but try to come up with the best move that you do if you were playing this in a tournament game. And number two, you're going to need this table. If you have been following this course, in order you went over lesson 81, lesson 127, you know what this is for. For those of you who are new guys, basically, I'm going to tell you, of course, what to do if you come across a gambit, especially if you're not familiar with it, but we're going to make it fun. We're going to make it fun as we can. So we're gonna go over a quick game, 15-20 moves, and you're going to try to guess every single move that this Grandmaster did as the black pieces. So assume that you paused the video, you worked on this position. I'm going to take you back to move number 4. So after the white pieces did c3, and I'm going to show you from the very beginning, but let me tell you here quickly. After the white pieces did c3, and I think it's called the Goring Gambit, pardon my pronunciation. And I know that if you ever come across this, guys, if you come across this in a game tomorrow, you're not going to know what to do. I know you don't know. I didn't know the first time I came across it, so I did what this Grandmaster did in this game. Now, before I get ahead of myself, before we start with our exercise, before we start guessing the moves, let me tell you how to use the table. Basically, after the next move that the black pieces do, we're going to start guessing every single move, right? You're going to keep track of the ones that you get correct. At the end, you divide your score. Let's say you get 4 correct. You divide it by 16, multiply by 100. That's going to give you a percentage. And then on this table, you could see your rating, your performance, okay? So let's get started from move number 1. So we have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, pawn to d4, scotch opening. This is the very first opening I played as the white pieces. But as the black pieces, guys, you know that I played the Peters, right? Well, quick anecdote before we start. I was once playing this opponent who I knew very well, and I knew that he played the scotch opening. So I decided to prepare something to surprise him. So after e4, I played e5. He knew that I played the Peters. And after d4, I took on d4, expecting him to take, because I had prepared this interesting line, which is queen h4. I'm threatening to take on e4. If they defend, well, I'm going to pin the knight. If they took on c6, well, I take with the check, then I collect. I really wanted to get into this, but my opponent, of course, surprised me. When I took on d4, he did the Goring Gambit, pawn to c3. Now, my advice to you, and I know you're gonna be like, okay, this is so basic. I knew this before you told me, but guys, my advice is do not get into the gambit if you're not familiar with it. If this guy is doing c3, it's because he prepared this from home. If you accept it, not only are you giving them a slight advantage in development and more control over the center, but you're walking into their territory. They have things prepared. You have no idea what you're going to encounter. So I'd rather do what this Grandmaster did as the black pieces, pawn to d3. And now, not only are you giving the pawn back, but you are preventing the white knight from going to the natural and aggressive square c3. And also, this bishop, you're preventing it from going to c4, where it could be easier to attack my king. So d3, give the pawn back and hurry up to develop. Don't get in trouble. So after bishop d3, now we start guessing every move, guys. We got 16 moves to go, so let's get started. Don't forget, you can pause the video as many times as you need for as long as you need. So after bishop d3, the next move for the black pieces was bishop c5. I know you could have done d6, you could have done other moves, but bishop c5 is simply more energetic. So if you get bishop c5, keep track of it. You got 1 point right there. White pieces castled. And now the next move, I'm pretty sure that 80% of you are going to get it incorrect. And you're going to feel like, oh, it's not fair, but you're going to see in a few moves why this is the move that they chose. The next move here for black is simply pawn to d6. And now you can see what I mean. I know that a lot of you guys thought of knight f6. How is this worse than pawn to d6? Well, you're going to see in a few moves why they chose d6 instead of knight f6. So d6 was played here. Then we got pawn to b4. This next move is a gift to you. So bishop b6, unless you are like some of my students that you feel the need to sacrifice pieces every time, you're not going to take them before, right? It doesn't make sense. So we have bishop goes to b6, then pawn to a4, and then this next move, we're going to have two kind of players. We're going to have players who do a6, we're going to have players who do a5. The only thing that I ask you to do is, when you come up with your answer, try to see what you're going to do next. Try to come up with a follow-up as well. Well, in this game, even though a6 is recommended in many books, a5 is more energetic. You force them to do something about it. But I was expecting you to think of a5, but also what to do after b5. What do we do with the knight? Well, after b5, very simple. I hope that you thought of bringing the knight to the center, guys. Knight to the center, don't go back. We have to play energetically. And then, of course, after knight takes, next move also is a gift. We just take back and we get a nice possession. Now, those of you who started with me from the very beginning, lesson number 1, how the pieces move and so on lesson number 15, we went over a game with the Evans gambit, and the white pieces got a very similar position, and they did bishop a3, just like in this game. Now, bishop a3, controlling a very powerful diagonal, cutting the king over here so we cannot castle. But you're going to see that that's not a problem because we're going to be probably castling to the queen side, right? So instead, black pieces to move. What was the next move? Well, we're getting ready to castle quickly to the queen side. So next move is bishop e6, getting ready to probably do something like queen d7, castle queen side, and so on. So after bishop e6, we got queen to e2, and now you're going to see, this is the moment where you see why knight f6 was not played, why they delayed knight f6 so much. Well, guys, it's very simple. Now we're ready to bring the queen onto the attack to the king side without the knight being in the way. So we're thinking now of a pretty simple attacking plan. Queen h4, knight f6, knight g4, and before you know it, we have 1, 2, 3 pieces attacking the king side. They have only 2 defenders. This is very important. Whenever you're thinking of attacking, you know that you want to have more attackers than they have defenders. If you're being attacked, you want to have as many defenders or more defenders than they have attackers. So next move here for the black pieces, well, queen h4, not only am I putting pressure like we said, but I'm also ready to castle to the queen side in case I get in trouble. So queen to h4, now king to h1, I think this was a mistake. Instead, they should be developing that knight, guys. You're gonna see how the white pieces lose this game, partly because of their lack of development. You don't know how many times I've been there myself until I learned my lesson. I saw my king being attacked, about to get checkmated, and when I looked to the side, well, my pieces were not developed, my rooks were not connected. So here, they went king h1, and now the next move should be pretty straightforward. We gotta follow through. So our knight is coming out, we're fully developed. The only thing that we need to do is castle to complete all the development, right? So knight f6, again, think of the knight going to g4 or even h5, f4 at the right time. So now the white pieces go pawn to g3, and we know, guys, every time we move a pawn, weaknesses are created. So now all of these pawns on the king side are on dark squares, and in contrast, the light squares are going to be weak. So the queen is going to get in there, queen h3, then pawn to f3, not only preventing the knight from going to g4, but opening the rank for the queen to go over and trade. Very important. If I'm being attacked, I want to eliminate pieces. If these queens are traded, guys, forget about the attack. That's it. Now, one more thing that I hope that you noticed is when they did f3, that's one less pawn in the way of the bishop. So now this bishop becomes more and more powerful. Now, with that said, guys, the next move for black, I'm almost confident that none of you is going to find it. Why? Well, because you are on attacking mode. I know, I've been there myself. You have your queen right there, the bishop, you have the other bishop, the knight, and you're only thinking of sacrificing pieces, pushing the pawn. And by the way, we have to think of candidate moves, you know that. So h5 is a very good candidate move, but here they decided to do something that many of us forget many times. We get caught up in the moment and we forget to just take a moment to put the king in safety and bring more pieces into the game. There's only one open file on the board, and we have a rook right there. So castling queenside, if you got this one, let me know in the comments. I really want to know if you actually took the time to sit back and not get caught up in the moment, right? So castle queenside, now we have bishop c2. Idea, well, I need to do queen g2, guys. I'm being attacked, I need to trade queens. If I do that, then the bishop is going to be hanging. So right there you can see the power of this move, castling queenside. So bishop c2, and then the next move, of course, we gotta bring that knight into the attack, guys. We have 1, 2, 3 pieces attacking. Well, let's bring a 4th piece, and we're trying to just take on g3. Very powerful fork. The pawn is pinned. This is just getting really nice for the black pieces. So rook g1 was played, and this next move, again, 95% of you are not going to come up with it. Actually, 99%. Why? Well, some of you, I'm pretty sure you even missed the fact that you could capture. And those of you who realize that you could capture the rook, you're going to take it. But guys, don't forget what Lasker used to say. If you find a good move, look for a better move. In this position, we can argue that this bishop is more valuable than the rook. So instead of taking the rook, the black pieces decided to activate the remaining of their pieces. Everything is active except for this rook. So what did they do? Well, rook d7, getting ready to double up on the only open file. And I know that this is basic. I know that those of you who have been following these lessons from number 1 all the way to 137, you know this. But guys, we want to be on an open file to be able to penetrate. And that's exactly what they're working towards. So rook d7, then rook g2, bring the other rook. This should be another gift move for you. So we double up the rooks, and now bishop c1, finally getting ready to develop that knight. But guys, it is just too late. So after bishop c1, guys, we have 2 more moves to go. And the question is, can you find these last brilliant moves? Take your time, pause the video, take as long as you need. And look, the idea here is the following. We have all of our pieces active, and you know by now that when our pieces are active, tactics are in the air. Well, remember the open file, lack of development. I want to get rid of that defender, which is the queen. So deflection, who could deflect that queen? My bishop. This bishop is not doing much, but now actually let's do it in our head. Imagine the bishop going to c4, queen takes, then we go rook d1, sacrificing the rook as well. They take, I take, then if they block, well, not only can I take because of, remember the bishop, that would be checkmate, but also I could do knight g3 checkmate. So the move, bishop c4. In this game, they did not capture, but if they had, let me just show you now. Oops, sorry. We go all the way back, then check, and then now you could take mate, or you could take, and that's also checkmate. Now, in this game, guys, what they did after bishop c4, they went queen e1, and this is the initial position that I showed you. Now, if you found the brilliant move from the beginning, congrats, that's very powerful. If you didn't, then take your time looking for a really powerful move that made the white pieces resign. Well, the move, guys, is bishop f1. Beautiful move, giving the bishop for free. Of course, I'm threatening to do checkmate, and if they take, now the queen is deflected from protecting g3. So now I could do knight g3. The king cannot move, the pawn cannot take because it's pinned, and then when they take with the rook, we got check followed by checkmate. So guys, there you go. The only thing that I want you to do before you go is to, of course, do your math, how many you got correct, divide by 16, multiply by 100, look at the table, let me know in the comments what your score was. But one thing that I want you to do whenever you're doing these exercises, go all the way back. I'm not going to do it with you, but go all the way back and review the game from the beginning in your head without moving the pieces, okay? I'm leaving the link to this game in the description of the video. Feel free to click on it, go through the moves, look at the board, and visualize the whole thing. Also, don't forget to check out Tato the Forker's channel. He already made it to 1700. He's playing basically quick games, 3, 4, 5 minutes long, using the openings that we have learned in this course. So check it out. And finally, I know that a lot of you are going to be like, you know what? I got 6, I got 8, I got 10. It says that my rating is 2500. I'm only a beginner. Guys, this is just a training exercise to make things more fun for you, but also in order for you to get a more accurate result, you need to do these 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times, and then you see what you typically get, okay? So with that said, I will see you on our live tournament on Thursday, so feel free to join us. And also, lesson 138 is coming out next weekend. See you next time.